If you look at billionaires like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Larry Ellison, they all had a passion for internet and programming from a young age. Why is that? And why does computer science seem to be the magic bullet for someone being successful today? What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Sorry for not posting for like a month. I had a exam for a class that I actually did not pass previous semester, so I was really trying to lock in and make sure I did well on it. So luckily, I'm pretty sure I passed that exam and did well on it. So I can't tell until the grades come out, obviously, but I believe I did well on it. So sorry for not posting. I should be more consistent, even though you guys can go to the previous videos. I always say that, but I think now I should be more consistent. But with that being said, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the top 5 reasons why computer science students have an unfair advantage in today's job market. Now, before we get into this video, go ahead and smash the like button. Also, feel free to comment. I respond to all my comments. In addition to that, also subscribe. We're on the road to 600 subscribers, and about 99% of my viewers who watch my videos aren't subscribed. So we need to, basically bump that number up. So go ahead and subscribe. It really means a lot. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this video. Okay, so point number 1, why computer science students have an unfair advantage in today's job market is just because they have a problem-solving mindset. Now, you might argue that all engineering careers have great problem-solving skills, but I believe that computer science is the best at that. The reason why is because programming is a logic-based skill, meaning that if you don't have something, let's say like a correct input, then you would not get the correct output. You can argue that mathematics is also the same way, but I believe that computer science is better than mathematics in a way, just because it's not necessarily just solving theoretical things, you're actually applying it to the real world. So that gives you an advantage. And also be sure to stick to the end, because I'm going to be sharing a tip that I use as a computer science student that gives me an unfair advantage as well. So with that being said, while college learning computer science concepts gives you, my opinion, the best practice regarding honing and problem solving skills, unlike other majors, computer science is quite literally a true and false approach, like I mentioned earlier. In addition to that, coding and computer design teaches you how to build things step by step. It's basically the foundation. If it doesn't work, then you can't keep building, like I said earlier. This mindset applied to other things. For example, recently I got into stock investing. Just like learning concepts of computer science, you start with the fundamentals. So I began learning the basics, such as what is a stock, what is an option, how are prices set, etc., etc. While some might say that computer science isn't really related to the stock market, you'll be surprised that a lot of trading firms today use famous CS fundamentals such as algorithms, terminologies, which honestly amazes me, since it seems like computer science is so connected to other fields. And like I said, it really, you'll notice this, like the fundamentals of programming, coding, and building things, you'll see it a lot in other markets. And not even that, just the technologies are implemented in other fields, so that kind of gives you an unfair advantage in that as well. So all right, with that being said, let's move on to point number 2. And computer science increases your creativity. The reason why I say this is because studying computer science, there's so much different ways you can solve a problem. Really, in most assignments, you're just asked to get a solution, and basically you can use whatever tools you want, whatever programming languages. Usually some programming languages are better than others. Some tools are obviously better than others, but really it doesn't matter what tools you use, what programming languages you use, as long as you get that correct solution, and that's really all that matters. Now, for example, one of the classes I took was a data visualization class. It was honestly pretty subjective on how you wanted to visualize the data, so that allowed for a lot of creativity on the best way you wanted to show the data to a given stakeholder or client. So yeah, while studying computer science, I also noticed that when you see problems in the real world, you think of so much more different ways to solve it compared to previously. For example, a classical data structure and algorithm approaches on how to solve problems, you usually approach the problem with something called a naive solution, which basically just means that when you solve the problem, you just come up with, let's say, like not a random, but like just the easiest way to solve it. But once you have it solved, then you can go and begin to optimize the problem, or the solution. So, and you'll see that a lot of industries. And SpaceX, when they had their first initial rocket come out, it didn't even look that good, right? But now if you look at their newest rocket, it looks amazing. So that's just kind of another concept that computer science taught me, is just even when you're sending out products, right? You just send out a product, maybe it's not good, but you go ahead and optimize as time goes on. So, all right, so point number 3 is it helps build the foundations of deep work. So there's a famous book out there called Deep Work by Cal Newport. And this book, the author talks about how to focus in a distracted world. With that being said, if you do a little bit more research, the author, Cal Newport, he's actually a computer science professor at Georgetown University, which makes sense, right? Because like one thing about computer science is you have to really be able to focus and go into deep working sessions when you're designing, new apps, designing new products for customers, trying to fix a bug, trying to solve a problem. So it really gives you that foundation of deep work. You can't produce deep work, then you really aren't going to succeed in the field of computer science or honestly in engineering in general. But the reason why I say computer science gives you a foundation of deep work skills is because computer science requires intense focus, problem solving, and it only makes sense when you're trying to solve a problem like an algorithm or system design or something like that. I can honestly go on and on. But yeah, in addition to that, what's even more interesting is the foundations of computer science. These concepts are actually applied in the book Deep Work and Productivity. For example, there's a strategy that Cal Newport states in his book. It's called time blocking. And this basically is just like how CPUs work. There's a concept in CPU for computers. It's called batch processing. And basically a CPU can only do a certain calculation one at a time. And that's kind of the same way that Cal Newport talks about how he wants you to approach work. You're supposed to complete one task at a time. And same with computers. Humans are the same. We're really bad at multitasking. But obviously GPUs are a little bit different. So that's just another unfair advantage that computer science gives students, is just you're able to work more efficiently, in my opinion. Okay, so point number 4, and this is the second best, point that I would say, or second best advantage that I would say for computer science students, is that technology literally runs the world. So if you look at the top 7 biggest companies in the world right now, most of them are all tech companies. Like, for example, number 1, Apple; number 2, Microsoft; number 3, Nvidia; Google, Amazon, Meta, Tesla. It might seem like these companies are not tech companies. Like for example, like Tesla, you might think Tesla is a car company, but in fact, Tesla is actually more of a software company. That's kind of the reason why they have an advantage over other cars in the car market, just because their software in the car is so much better, in addition to their batteries and stuff, which their batteries are pretty good, but really you buy a Tesla for the software, such as autopilot and stuff like that. That being said, all these top companies are tech companies, and they're worth so much money, and that's just because they produce good technology. And if you think about it, if you're a computer science student, you know how a lot of these technologies work, which gives you a unfair advantage when it comes to things outside of computer science as well. Like I mentioned earlier with investing, if you're a computer science student and you know that a company launches a software and you're thinking to yourself, hey, I actually learned about this software, the fundamentals of it at least, in one of my classes, and you can see the potential of that company doing well because of its implementation of that technology, then that kind of gives you unfair advantage, at least when it comes to investing. That's just one example. In addition to this, while your peers might not see how powerful new technology is, since you're a computer science student, you just know how important technology is when it comes to solving problems. So it kind of gives you that advantage in just seeing how companies implementing a technology, and since you know how it works, then you might be like, oh, okay, this is actually really interesting. I might invest in that company, or I might, stuff like that. So that kind of gives you an unfair advantage right there as well. So, and the final point, why computer science gives you an unfair advantage in today's job market, how it can help you improve just yourself, right? You can use technology as basically a multiplier of your productivity, whatever you're doing, right? So me personally, right now I'm about to graduate pretty soon, so I'm kind of in the job hunting process. So I actually created my own software from scratch that helped me track jobs, basically give me updates on if a job application has changed. Before, when I used to apply for jobs, I would literally spend hours and hours using an Excel sheet to track everything. But now that I actually built the software on my own, and I actually have my own database, have my own UI, I have my own back end handling the functions and stuff like that. So I don't really need to even spend the time. All I really need to do is just apply to a job, take the link to the job, and then just put it into my software. So that's just another thing, and that's honestly saved me, I would say, minimum around like 10 hours a week, and that really adds up, especially now with you have to apply to a lot of jobs. So all right, guys, with that being said, I really appreciate you guys getting this far into this video, and like I said, if this video gets up to 3 likes, I'll go ahead and make another sequel to this on why computer science students have a disadvantage in today's job market. So if you're interested in that, get this video up to 3 likes, and I really appreciate you guys getting this far into the video. Like I said, go ahead and like the video, go ahead and subscribe if you're new to this channel, and until next time.